All right, now some of the final items, they get left to very last. Towel rails and toilet roll holders. So I'm going to be popping these ones on the wall. I'm yet to sort of determine a height here. We've got a double rail and a single rail. I've also got things like toilet roll holder, toilet cleaning brush, towel hooks, hand towel holders, just all those bits and pieces that need to be drilled in through the tiles and hopefully pick up some timber work. Now, generally speaking, you want to frame out behind here for where you're going to have fixings before your sheet and before your tile. So hopefully I've done that enough that we can get some good fixings. Now, if for some reason we've missed, there's certain toggles and various sort of wall anchors that we can use to help hold those on. So let's start putting all these in. And how cool do those LED lights in the niches look? If you come in the middle of the night and you want to use the toilet, rather than turning on all the glary lights, that just acts like a little bit of mood lighting, just puts a nice little glow into the room without blaring lights if you've just woken up. Now, most towels, when sort of folded in half, you're probably only going to get about 750, 800. So I think to be safe, if you're up at about 900 off the ground, that should be high enough. You know, that towel isn't going to rub on the floor. If I put one up above, I don't want that hanging down past the light switch. So I just got to space these out correctly. So I'm going to put it on the meter grout line there. And then I know off my door architrave, if I come back to 20, that should be where I pick up a stud. Maybe I'm better going through the middle of the tile. The boss has spoken. Boss number 2 here, she's going to give me the opinion. Should we go?
Are we even going to say our names?
Oh yeah, introduce yourselves to the camera. You got to look up there.
Alana.
Yeah.
Eden.
All right, now, the little trick to this is if you're going to drill in the center of a tile, if you're going to drill anywhere in the tile, put a bit of tape here, and that way your drill bit won't run off. I'll link to another video where I've done this before on how to actually drill through a tile without scratching it out, running it off. But for now, I'll put that where we're going to go. We can mark it out and drill it. Now I'm just going to measure the center between these two. It should in theory be from one side here to the other. Give you center to center. And that is 771. And measure across 771. It's going to be roughly there. Now that it's marked, I'm going to drill through my 2 lines. There should be a stud behind here, so I'm not going to drill all the way through. I've got a 6mm bit, which is for spaghetti or for plugs. So if I don't pick up a stud, I can still get a toggle or something in behind there. And then on this side, I don't think I'm going to actually get a stud. From memory, I think I've blocked out a bit higher here. And because we're going double, that probably won't work. So I'll show you the wall toggle that I'm going to use. But for now, I'm just getting through these tiles so that I can get a screw into the stud work. What I like to do is start this off on drill only, not hammer, just until it beds in and gets a little bit of a hole, and then you can punch through a little bit harder after that if you like. So you can see here, that's started now to bite into the actual tile. Probably give it a little bit more, and then I might put it on hammer once I know the tip's through a bit. So that's through the glazing, and now I can probably just push that. I may not even need the hammer for this one. See, that's straight through, and that actually isn't touching a stud. So that's interesting. I'll go this other one, and hopefully I'll get a stud this side. Good, all right, that's more like it. So that one's actually got the stud. That one's missed. The good thing about these is that one doesn't really need it. You only really need one good solid fixing into these. So now I should be able to pull that off. and everything else. So I'm going to swap that out for a nice long screw there that I know I'm going to get some good solid fixing. And I'd say there's going to be no timber work here, so that's going to be some of the wall toggles that I'll show you. So 2 hollows. Okay, so for these ones I'm going to use hollow wall anchors, and what these do is they open up behind, once you push them in, they open up behind the plasterboard and act as like a butterfly and then locks on. So if this is an example on the shower screen, it'll put some hooks behind it. So I'll demonstrate how that works. They have these little hooks on the end of them that are designed to bite into plasterboard. Because we're not going into plasterboard, we just need to flatten those out so that it goes flat over the tiles. So you can just get some nips and just bend them back. So now they should sit flat against the wall. Actually, I might just do 1 wall toggle and 1 plug. And now in theory, I should be able to take that screw out. And then that'll leave that plug in the wall to then to be able to screw back in through the bracket. And the reason we don't just do 2 of those is because they can just pull straight out of the wall versus that one, which is now bundled up behind, that can't pull out from the wall. And that's it. Now it's just a matter of tightening up the grub screws underneath. All right, now that that's on, time to put on the 2 other, I call them robe hooks, but we're going to be hanging towels on them. I'm just going to put on the back of the door here. So these ones are pretty straightforward. They'll just screw straight into the timber, one there, and the other one, something like this. Boom, boom. Take out a little grub screw at the bottom. These ones are easy. They're straight into timber, so it's just a matter of screwing them straight into the door. Beautiful. Beautiful, solid as. And then last but not least, we've got our little hand towel rail. All right, and now with this one, rather than use those other metal toggles that just spun around in the wall last time, I'm going to go these plastic ones. I think that's going to be a better solution. I don't normally like using these because the pin isn't always in. You actually put them through like this, and then the idea is that they spring back and pull back against the wall once you put your screw in there. But in the past, it hasn't always sprung back and it hasn't been the best connection. But I've got some pretty long screws, so if it doesn't spring back, hopefully that can pull it all the way back. And like I said, the difference with these things, with that metal head, that's designed for that little lug to jam into the plasterboard and then not spin. But because we were doing it on the tiles and I folded those back, that just spun and I had to hang onto it with the pliers. But this one, you can see there, that's got like it's plastic, but it's got grooves in the side of it. So the idea is once you tap that through the tile, that should bite in tight and not spin. And these have a little indent in the bottom there, which the grub screw goes into. So you want to make sure that that's pointing down. Well, we find surprise timber, so that way I don't have to use a toggle on that one. That's going to be nice and solid. That is so cool. So all I have to do now is screw those in. No toggles required. I'll have to show you in the next bathroom. All right, so here we are in bathroom number 2. It's going to be the same deal. Basically going to be putting a couple of robe hooks or towel hooks on the back of the door, and got a double towel rail that I'll be putting here just in front of the bath. The only modification I'm going to make in this room is with these robe hooks, because this is my daughter's bathroom, rather than put them up on this top section up here, which is going to be a bit hard for them to reach, I'm going to put them down this lower transom on the door. And being in timber, it's quite simple. Like as they grow up, you know, it's not like that's drilled through a tile that can't be patched. You can simply take those off once they get into teenagers or adult years, and obviously we'll move them up there, sand and putty the door and just touch it up. And in this room, I'll also use those plastic toggles that I was going to show you in the other bathroom as well, just into some of these areas where it might be hollow. So this side got a timber stud, so that's good. And this side is hollow. So now we'll try that different type of hollow wall plug. And again, the way that works, that once that goes through straight, we're hoping that it pins back a little bit. And then when the long screw goes through, that connects with the back and then just pulls that back. All right, there we go. Solid. But I think we'll do the same thing as we've done in the other bathroom. We'll go 100 ml in from each side. Yep, works well. Still get to the handle. Door still opens, hit the door stop. Tucked away behind the door. Yep, and then so you get out of the shower and you're putting it back on. Oh, I can hang my towel up and it's going to dry, it's not going to be on the floor. Approved by the little boss. So I'm thinking here with this one, putting this down at this one at about bench height, and the reason being is if I put it here, it's all a little bit too crowded, I think, up against that basin. But also if I put it here, it acts as a bit of a doorstop for this vanity door. So if that comes back, it stops it from hitting the plasterboard, versus when it doesn't, that's just got a metal handle, and knowing the kids, they'll slam that open and slam that into the plasterboard. So I think just there, the old knock method. So that's a stud right there. You can hear when it's hollow, and then when it becomes more dense, it's when you're right over the actual stud. Yep, right there. And then in theory, out from the wall, that should be about 900, which is our, yep. So we've got 450 and 450 stud spacing. Sometimes in a house you've either got 450 or 600 center stud spacings. But in this one, because I built it myself, 450s. Now this time, this should work perfectly through the plaster. Alright, in theory that should do. Perfect. Door just misses, acts as a bit of a stop. And you're the hand towel.